All right, well, get ready for a fright this morning. We are taking a tour of haunted spots in San Diego this morning with paranormal researcher Bonnie Vent.
Now, Bonnie has studied the city's most haunted houses, including Villa Montezuma, where she says she spoke with the villa's most famous resident.
Jesse Shepard has been spotted on the landing here. As a matter of fact, with the Ghost and Gravestones tour, there's an actor, but there's also a docent that's in the house. And the docent thought that someone had missed the tour bus because he turned around and he saw this very tall man. Jesse Shepard was 6'4". He saw a very tall man in a gray suit, and he was materialized so much that he thought it was a regular person that had just missed the tour. And he turned around to tell him, hey, you're late for the tour, and he vanished.
Ooh, some spooky stuff.
And Bonnie joins us this morning with more on Villa Montezuma and San Diego's other spooky spots. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. Hey, let me start by asking you what a paranormal researcher does. How do you spend most of your day at work?
I tell you, I spend a lot of time at historical societies, working with historians who are experts, because I tell you, I'm like one of the most skeptical people ever. I do have the ability to communicate with the spirits, but I always want that validated any way I possibly can. And when you're working with people who are already well documented historically, that gets a little bit easier to do.
And you say you can see dead people.
Seeing them sometimes they will full-on materialize. That's pretty rare, though. Usually you'll get a sense where it's almost like on a hot road, where you'll get that wave of energy off of a hot road, and you'll see something like that where you're seeing the air is just different in that spot.
Well, let's talk about some of San Diego's spookiest spots. We were talking about Villa Montezuma, once home to one of San Diego's most notorious eccentrics. Tell us a little bit more about that. Here we are looking at this house. Can just everyday people come in and see it today?
Yes, actually they do have history tours Friday through Sunday, where you can go in on the hour and you can take a tour of the house. As a matter of fact, that was my first encounter with Jesse Shepard, was actually in the year 2000. I took the history tour, and I felt this hand on my back, just like a gentleman would escort you from room to room. And when I completed the history tour, I asked the guide, I said, who is this man that's following me around? And he said, other people have experienced that as well. So definitely felt his presence. He was very proud of his home, so you get feelings and impressions. And he also went on to explain to me that he was a spiritualist and had the ability to channel just like I did.
Wow. Let's talk about the Whaley house. I know that it was built in 1856, and it was Southern California's first two-story brick building. Tell us about the original occupants, the Whaleys.
The interesting thing about the Whaley house is it's the only house that I'm aware of where the original occupants thought it was haunted also. Thomas Whaley used to report that his house was haunted, and he thought it was haunted by Yankee Jim Robinson. Yankee Jim Robinson was hung on the property 4 years prior to the house being built.
So the house was built on the spot?
Right, it was built on a gallows, and Thomas Whaley actually attended the hanging of Yankee Jim Robinson. So it's really intriguing to look at it now, because Yankee Jim Robinson is reported to still be in the house, and so is Thomas Whaley, and they have a history with each other. And some regret there. Thomas Whaley felt that he could have maybe prevented him from being hung, and so he's very regretful that that didn't happen.
And you've actually seen the Whaleys, or had some sort of contact with?
Anna Whaley, I actually heard back in 1993 was my first encounter with Anna Whaley. And back then they had mannequins in the house, and she was complaining to me that the mannequins scared people and she didn't want them there. And then also in particular, one mannequin had a black dress, beaded black dress, and that she did not want her dress on that mannequin and displayed.
Such interesting stories. You know, one of the grandest hotels, of course, the Hotel del Coronado, has a spooky history as well. It's been a landmark for over a century. Tell us some of the ghostly tales out of the Hotel del Coronado.
Well, the Hotel del, the most famous is Kate Morgan, and that's what everyone talks about. You can go in the gift shop. There's actually a book that was done, I think it's called A Perfect Stranger. There it is. And you can pick that up in the gift shop. And it's actually a log from the haunted room of people's experiences that have stayed in that room.
What is the story about Kate Morgan for people who don't know?
Well, it's not clear to this point. It hasn't been proved out whether or not she committed suicide or whether she was murdered. But the incident actually happened on the stairs that lead down to the beach. Those stairs are now gone because they remodeled the tennis courts at the Hotel del and they moved them down. But there's still a little square of cement on the sand where those stairs were.
So she checked into the hotel and never checked out, right?
Wow.
But she didn't die in the room. She actually died down on the beach.
What do you think makes spooky stories, haunted tales, so appealing to people?
You know, I think it's the age-old question everyone wants to know. What happens after we die? Everyone wants to know the answer to that. And to be able to communicate with people that have already gone through that process would certainly be a very handy thing.
When did you know you had these healing powers or this other sense? When did you experience that?
It started really, really young. Adults used to come up to me when I was like 6, 7 years old, and they'd tell me about their love life and their job and, you know, what could they do differently. And I would just tell them what information I was receiving. And you get these comments out of the mouths of babes. And I didn't think anything of it because I didn't know I was any different than anyone else. Now, I used to stare into candle flame when I was little because it made me very peaceful to do that because it actually puts you in an alpha state. So, you know, but no one seemed to be concerned that I would burn the house down.
Well, how would you answer those who say, oh, this is just a lot of hooey, a lot of hocus pocus? How would you answer that?
Well, I tell you, I don't really worry about the skeptics because I'm just as skeptical as they are, and I would invite everyone to go out and prove these things out for themselves or not, and, you know, incorporate what you think is true and dismiss the rest. And it's really my mission to deliver these messages from the other side. So I'm not here to prove or disprove to you whether this exists or not. I actually work for the spirits on the other side, and I communicate their unfinished business and try and get them resolution.
All right, well, if you have some unfinished business out there, you can contact Bonnie. She has a website. It's sdparanormal.com. Do you go to parties and give readings and that sort of thing?
No, I do not.
You do?
I am strictly a researcher. I am starting to work with some production so that we can get these messages out in the mass media. And so I'm working on a show that's called The Phenomena Police with Houston police officers. So for those that are skeptical, this should be right up your alley because everyone gets a lie detector test on the stories that they claim. And we're actually using police protocols in combination with paranormal procedures to investigate paranormal activity.
And we'll be able to watch that on television sometime in the future.
One hopes so. It's up for sale right now. Okay. So the pilot is completed, and so we're trying to get a market for it.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
And happy Halloween.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Paranormal. Do you think she knows what we're thinking right now?
Yeah, I don't know.